Hi, Auntie Joe. This is Sean. My mother told me that you're looking to make some of the no-sew, not tying blankets. I've probably made about 30 of them in the last 2 years. Skill I picked up during the pandemic, and I always thought that they were thoughtful gifts to give. So my mother asked if I would put together a short collection of videos to kind of show how you do it. I think someone who's as skilled and crafty as you will have no problem doing it, particularly if I can. So really the only tools that you need are a pair of fabric scissors, and then I use a tool to sharpen the scissors periodically in case they get dull. And then for me, when I make the blankets, I normally have one solid color that I use kind of as contrast in the background, and then one patterned blanket, to give it the pop. All right, so I'm gonna put one together. So I laid out my two blankets here, and what you want to do is lay it out so that you've got the good side of the solid blanket facing down towards the carpet, and the good side of the patterned blanket facing up towards the sky. You overlay them, and they don't have to be perfect, but reasonably close, because what we're going to do is cut off about an inch around the edges. And it, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. And, fortunately for me, the fabric comes with these kind of perforations on the edge that kind of show me where to cut. And I like making these because I don't have to be so precise and exact. If I get it reasonably close, then we're good. I get my blankets from a store called Joann Fabrics, and I get blankets that are 2 yards in size, which is about 2 meters to do the overlay. That's really good for an adult, kind of fits on a twin size bed pretty nicely. So now I'm going to cut that 1-inch strip around the edge. I just started on the corner, and I'm going to work my way all the way around the big square until I get back to the start again. Okay, so once you cut off the edges all the way around that kind of 1-inch strip, you'll end up with kind of a clump of, trimmings. What we need to do is cut out a square out of each of the corner, and this will be 13 centimeters by 13 centimeters, or 5 inches by 5 inches for me. So I take a yardstick or a meter stick, and then I just measure out to the 13 mark, and then we'll put it across to the 13 centimeter mark again down here, and then I'll cut up that way until I mark out that square. If you see what I did on this side, it'll look like that, so that I'll end up with a square like that, and we'll do that for all 4 corners. Okay, so now that we cut the 13 centimeter squares out of each of the corners, now we have what I think is probably the most tedious part of the process, and that's to cut approximately 3 centimeter strips all the way around the edges. And that's what we're going to use to tie the knots that hold it all together. Of course, I use the 1-inch metric, but that's roughly about 2.5 to 3 centimeters. I find that if you stick to that 3 centimeter mark, then tying the knots is a little bit easier. The thicker the strips are, the more cumbersome it is to kind of put the fabric together to tie the simple overhand knot. So I'll demonstrate a couple of them for you here, okay? So what you should end up having is strips that kind of look like this. And then once we make those cuts all the way around, then we'll start tying the knots. So now for the second most tedious part of this process, which I recommend, we're gonna be tying a lot of knots. So I recommend that you take breaks, you know, after doing maybe a side or something like that, and give your back a break. Unless you have a big table, you're probably sitting on the ground and kind of hunched forward trying to tie the knot, kind of like between your legs or something like that. So when the knot is tied, it'll look like this, right? It's just a simple overhand knot. I like to do a twist in the middle, which I'll show you, that keeps the solid side down and the fabric side on the top, but that really doesn't matter. In some cases, the solid side on the top actually might be a good complement. So it's going to look something like this. So I'm going to put my index finger underneath both strips of fabric, and I'm going to tuck the whole thing underneath my finger so I kind of make a cross, right? Maybe you can see that like that. Then I'll take the strip and push on the tip of my finger, which I'll grab, twist, pull through by pulling the end and moving the knot part up. I'll try it again. So index finger underneath, the rest of the fabric crosses underneath to make a cross. Then I'll pull it over the top and push the end of it through the tip of my finger. So now I've got my right index finger pushing it through, and I'll grab it with my thumb and index finger of my left hand, and then I'll twist it, transferring it over to my right hand, push the knot up, and pull the other side down. And this is what it looks like when it's all done. So it should be normally between, around 200 to 250 knots around the edges. This one came out to 255 knots. Just to show you how the quality is still great and it hides a little bit of the imperfections. You can kind of see that, you know, some of the knots sit back, you know, a little bit farther than the other ones do. But at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter. Just a tip for you that depending on where you get your fabric, for me, the fabric that's on the outside part, the side of it, this side, is a bit stretchier. So it's a little bit easier to tie the knots. The ones that are on the base, on the top and the bottom, that's around here, those are a little bit less stretchy. So you tend to cut the strips a little bit thinner so that it's easier for your fingers to manipulate the knot. Okay, so best of luck. I look forward to see what you can make. Bye.